mission is to help change the world one leader at a time. And through my YouTube channel, through the business that I'm in and the different, business communities that I'm in, I know we're doing that every single day. So thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being you. And we're going to get things rocking. So, I believe that you're God's greatest form of creation and you deserve greatness. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about vision and the power of vision. They say that, leaders in today's economy, true leaders, they're not the executives, they're not managers, they're visionaries. So they even say that CEOs, Chief Executive Officers, the best are not CEOs. The best are CVOs, Chief Visionary Officers. And what is vision? Vision is the ability to see things before they happen. Seeing things before people think it's possible to happen. And I'll tell you, there's a couple examples of visionary companies and visionary people. I mentioned this recently in some meetings in my office about Netflix. They're 1/500th of the size of a company called Blockbuster. And within 10 years, they put Blockbuster out of business. Blockbuster went bankrupt. There's another company called Zappos. If you guys that don't know Zappos, it's a shoe company. It's an online shoe business. And who would have known that you could actually go and get shoes, or you don't go anywhere actually. You actually get shoes, and you could get the shoes that you want that fit perfect and look the way that you want to without even trying them on first. And it's interesting because Zappos, what they did was they created their business around customer service. They created a process where you could order shoes online, get it delivered, and do it all through the mail. When that was like 10, 20 years ago, that was something who does that, right? But Zappos had the vision of what was coming. And there's some other ideas like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, who would have thought that you could go and stay in a stranger's home, or that you'd be willing to jump in a car with someone you've never met before, and you'd actually pay for it. Like, think about that. 15, 20 years ago, and I grew up in the late 90s and early 2000s, like I was my teenage years. Like, that's like stranger danger. You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? But the founders of Airbnb, the founders of Uber, although they were considered crazy, I'm sure, by many, they're now geniuses. They're now brilliant. And they're now very wealthy too, by the way. Very, very wealthy. And so remember, leaders always look at the big picture. Great leaders always know the big picture. They always know what they're working towards. And they always keep their eyes on the big picture. And frankly, they're not afraid of being laughed at. Because there'll be people that are, I hate using the word small-minded because I think people all have great minds, but people that maybe don't see what they see. They kind of get pushed aside sometimes. They get ridiculed sometimes. Maybe even isolated because they have this vision of what could be in business. And at times the wind, I'm in the Windy City today. I'm actually in the Chicago offices. I was here yesterday. I'm here this afternoon. And it's pretty windy this morning. I'm walking in my suit jacket, everybody's flying around. It's a windy city for a reason, I guess. But in business, when you have a vision, a lot of times the wind's against you. You're flying against the wind, and it's hard. It's hard to push. because everything else around you is pushing against you, because you're not in the popular crowd. You're in the, the smaller crowd. And remember this, management and vision are two very different things. Management and vision are two very different things. That's why executives, yes, they have to manage, they have to inspect, they have to coach, they have to know data, they have to drive behavior, results, people, etc. But vision is about getting people to believe in one themselves, to get themselves out of their own comfort zones. But it's about pushing towards whatever their big picture is, whatever their goals are. And it takes a ton of dedication. A ton of dedication. Remember this, when you think of your comfort zone, I believe your comfort zone is your cage. Your comfort zone is the area, this little circle around you, wherever you are, that's caging you in, keeping you from being amazing. So, and it's interesting because again, for you guys that are sports fans, there's other companies that never got out of their cage. They never pushed a big vision. They never took risks. And listen, when you play defense, when you play, you're playing the game to protect your lead, right? You see this in sports. You see it in the Super Bowl a few years ago, some pretty big comebacks. You've seen it recently in some big comebacks in the NFL. But if you're playing to protect your lead, it hardly ever works. And some of you guys may be too young to know this, but Reebok back in the 80s, they weren't pushing their comfort zones. In 1984, Reebok had an opportunity to sign a basketball player out of Chicago. He was a shooting guard, and he wasn't in the NBA. He wasn't a big guy. But it was too risky to bet on players that were shooting guards, that were new into the league. And so another company decided to sign Michael Jordan. And Reebok, I'm sure, remembers it. And I'm sure Nike and all the endorsements that Michael Jordan signed coming in the league, because he wasn't the big guy, but he was the next wave of talent in the league at the time. They appreciated the risk. Looking back, can you imagine if you were the person that made that decision to not sign Michael Jordan? That's called a bad day. A very bad day. And listen, there's other stories. There's stories like, and again, a lot of us are in the cell phone business. At one point, there is a cell phone called a BlackBerry. Some of you guys, again, are probably too young to remember the BlackBerries. I remember it. It was one of the coolest phones back in the day that I wanted. And they kind of held the cell phone market. They owned it. They didn't push out of their comfort zone. Again, this name may not resonate with all you guys. There's a company named Kodak back in the day. And Kodak was the first to, create the digital photography market. They were first to market. And by 2012, they were bankrupt because they were constantly not pushing themselves out of their comfort zone. So remember, when you're thinking of vision, a lot of you guys are in the business of leading, coaching, mentoring, taking care of a team. People are more excited about working for a cause, working for an opportunity, as opposed to working for a company or just a job. A job, I heard this yesterday, one of the managers ran a meeting in Chicago, just over broke is what he called a job. And that resonated with me. And in my opinion, it resonates with a lot of people that are looking for opportunities. But you got to have a vision. You got to think bigger. You got to keep your eye on the prize. You got to remind your organization, your team, about what that prize is. And I see today, and obviously a lot of people watch this channel, but in the industry that we're in third-party labor, 3PL, outsourcing. This is the way that major companies are going to get customers. In my office in Chicago, in my office here in Chicago, yeah, but in Detroit, among other offices of people I coach, we work with AT&T. The vision from AT&T corporate is they're reducing the amount of corporate stores across the nation to shift revenue into the 3PL business, the retail business that we're in. Millions of dollars they're spending on what we do because they see the return on their investment. They realize that in the retail store, majority of people that walk into a AT&T corporate store, if they even walk in at all, because the foot traffic is absolute dog shit. But if they walk into the store, it's an existing customer looking to get an upgrade. So there's no real value add. There's no real revenue add. Yes, they may retain them a little bit longer, but they already have that customer. What they want and what they need, what every business needs, is new customers, new billing customers. That's how they grow. That's how they come through for their shareholders. That's how they come through for Wall Street. And we are experts in this space. We get the customer that was not thinking about switching their energy or switching their cell phone or switching their, I don't know, their office supplies or whatever client it is we're working with. And we get them to consider changing and billing with our client for the very first time. And that customer stays with our clients for many, many years on average. That's brand new business. And so we're able to change the world when it comes to revenue. But remember, as a leader, my first main point today, I'm only gonna have 2 big points today, is you have to have a vision. And you have to push yourself outside your comfort zone. And it's not gonna be comfortable. There's gonna be people, if you have a huge vision, if you want to accomplish a lot in life, you want, maybe this, again, within our industry, maybe this opportunity is the first time you've ever done anything like this. And listen, that's where, in my opinion, that's where excitement is. That's where you live. And you really get things rocking. All right, second thing I want to talk about is you have a huge vision. You're leading people. Well, if not equally as important as vision, or maybe more important, is your culture. Is your culture. The culture that you create, the connections that you create among your team, among your coworkers, among people who you work with. Again, I'm a big basketball fan. I'm a big sports fan in general. For you guys that know who Coach K is, he has an interesting way that he does things every year when he brings in recruits. And what he does is very first meeting among his new student athletes and among his senior athletes, and a lot of them, are moving, some move on to the NBA pretty quickly. But he has a meeting about how each player affects and reflects the whole. In today's world, it is what it is, but college athletes, when they make silly decisions on a campus, and I was a college athlete, and I saw and actually did some silly things on campus in college. Thankfully, it didn't happen in the news, didn't come up in the news. But college athletes are on stage. They're on stage off the court or off the field, just as much as they're on stage on the court or in the field. And he talks about, remember, whatever happens to you happens to all of us. And so what he does by having this conversation among his student athletes and among his, new student athletes, senior athletes, among his team, is he's making sure people know that we are together. So when I think of our business, so give an example, if somebody is not pulling their weight, they're not showing up to the team like we know they can, it's my obligation as a teammate to pull them aside and say, hey, is everything okay? You're pretty sharp. Like, you have a ton of potential. Why are you showing up late? Why are you not pulling why are we not putting in our effort? Or, hey, great job. Dude, I see you're putting all this effort. I see you're in early. That's awesome. It's exactly a teammate that is going to be a part of our team. That's a great sign for someone who's going to accomplish great things among our team, right? But we are in this together. We're a huge family, positive and negative, right? And so, it's interesting because, again, some of you guys that know basketball, Jay Williams, a pretty good basketball player over time in college and in the pros. But when Coach K sat him down and talked to him and was recruiting him through the, high school, college recruiting process, Coach K had conversations with Jay Williams around life and leadership and growing up as a man and what it means to the community and what it means to business and what it means to his team. And again, if you guys that know basketball, Jay Williams could have gone anywhere. He was just one of those players that had a lot of options. And he decided to play for Coach K because it wasn't about basketball. It was about being an amazing man and growing up and making a difference in the world. And basketball just happened to be the avenue to do that. And, again, there's stories about John Wooden, if you guys that know basketball, one of the icons of college basketball at UCLA. Actually, in my office, I have a signed autograph from him, which is kind of crazy, John Wooden. But he talks about similar things. His philosophy was not just basketball. His philosophy is about building real leaders that go on from basketball, and leaders go on, in my opinion, and what I'm trying to do in business, leaders that go on and make a difference in all walks of life, not just in third-party labor and what we do. So when it comes to culture, I highly advise you to have this motto, the no losers are allowed motto. So people who don't show up at their best consistently and they're just not willing to make changes, I encourage you to sit down with your coach, your manager, and share the realness. Hey, listen, they're not putting in the effort. I'm working with them. I'm putting the effort. They got to pick it up. And then maybe another conversation to help them get rocking will help people, turn the corner and get on track. But the no loser culture is, hey, there's minimum requirements to be on this team. We expect people to perform daily. And if they don't, hey, no problem. Things happen. You hit the crossbar in a game. You strike out sometimes. No problem. But are you going to take that and learn from it and do something about it? But the idea of not pulling your weight and not the idea of not participating every day, that's not the team we're building. We're looking for players, whether they're on the bench, whether on the court. When they are on the court, they're going to contribute. They're going to make a difference. They're going to help people. They're going to grow. They're going to make a positive impact on people around them. And in the culture in our organization, and especially in my office, it's performance driven. We have very high standards. We're expecting people to push and raise the bar. And I'm constantly looking. My attitude is exactly like college football and like every professional sport that ever existed. We recruit and look for amazing talent to do one of two things: to add on to our culture and make it even better, or to replace our weakest link. Really simple. And just so you know, it's no different in any organization in the world. Microsoft fires their bottom 10% every year of programmers and replaces them with fresh college graduates. It's just a philosophy to continue to renew and make the team bigger and stronger. And so I encourage you to think about how you raise the bar. Do you add to the culture that you're in? Life happens. Are you pulling away from the culture? Okay, we've all done it. What can I do to change and make a difference? And I know from building teams for the last 20 years in sales and in my kids' soccer teams that are 10 and under at the moment, I know that if you want to change the culture, you have to change the behavior of the individual. But if you allow a behavior in your culture that doesn't align with your values, then essentially you start being seen as a leader that endorses that behavior. And so there's old sayings around leadership when it comes to, this piece. One of them is, you get what you let. You get what you let. Another one is, leadership is not what you say, it's what you accept or what you allow. Leadership is not what you say, it's what you accept or what you allow. And so as a leader, it's not about being a popularity contest when it comes to culture. It's about being honest and recognizing top performers and encouraging them to continue to raise the bar and continue to kick some ass. And it's also about, hey, having the tough conversations with people that if they're not pulling their weight and living up to the values of your team. Because I've learned in 20 years of coaching and mentoring and helping people be at their best, that incredible people that want to be amazing, they yearn discipline. I had somebody tell me this week, and one of my partners in the business, and listen, he ran a company that did $1 million this year in business. He's Corey, I know you're there. How old's Rendell?
27, 28.
27, 28 years old. And I said some things, and we were coaching him and helping him, supporting him with his company and his business. And I said, so I was pretty hard on him. And I said, listen, I'm not trying to hurt feelings. I'm just trying to help you. And he says to me, Ken, I want to be great. I want to be great. I want to have people that look at me and see the color of my skin to know that they can be great too. And I know I'm going to be that example for a lot of people. Be hard on me. And I'm like, Rendell, I love you, bro. Like, I fucking love that. I love that your purpose is so deep that you're already making a difference in people that work for you. And you're going to make a difference on a massive scale sometime in your life. Keep it up. But he's like, yeah, what else you got for me? What else do I got to change? And it was funny, but he yearns discipline. He was a college athlete. He wants to do great things. He wants to make a difference. And then he's going to take it away and make changes. And that's the coolest part. So remember, culture really comes down to the habits of the people on the team. If you want to improve your culture, then improve the habits of people on the team. I've had people ask me in my office recently, hey, why aren't we in the top 5? There's all these offices. Why aren't we in the top 5 yet? Why aren't we in the top 5 yet? And the reality is because individually the team isn't doing everything they could be doing. they haven't reached their, they're never going to reach their potential. They haven't reached the place where they're really strong at what they're doing. That's the truth. Is as a collective culture, a collective unit, people aren't all performing at their best consistently. And so that's a huge learning opportunity. It's a huge opportunity. But if you want to, excuse me, if you want to create an awesome culture, an awesome organization, it starts with the habits of the people. And listen, the last thing I just want to share with you guys, we're coming up on our time today, is remember, there's a very big difference between renting and owning things. There's a very big difference between renting and owning things. When I was in high school, I essentially my dad gave me a car. It was you probably never heard of this car, Merkur Scorpio. The German-made car, piece of shit. But the Merkur Scorpio was given to me, and essentially, I never bought it. I didn't own it. My dad did. He gave it to me, and I treated it accordingly. I hit so many curbs, it was crazy, and I didn't even care. I wasn't even paying attention. I ripped the seat a few times, or nice leather seats. I ripped it. I didn't care. I'd pour, I would pour drinks, not on purpose, but things would spill everywhere. I didn't clean it. I didn't take care of the vehicle. And it's interesting because I feel sometimes people show up in their life the same way. They feel like, and they operate their lives like this is gonna last forever, this life. And I've learned that when you own up to things and you own your role, you own where you are in your life, you tend to get more out of it. You tend to attack your day a little bit differently. You tend to accomplish a little bit more. And it's all it is the mindset. All it is the mindset. And again, in the organization, the company, the team that you're in, whether you're in ours or in another one, if you look at the business like you owned it, and you start walking around and operating and thinking that way, you will actually do much better at the role, no matter what organization you're in, because it's a higher level thinking. And the interesting thing is, and the challenge in life is, rich people think a certain way. Poor people think a certain way. Poor people, in my opinion, unfortunately, feel they're renting lots of their life. They don't take ownership of really what they want and what they can accomplish. And so I tell you, just like my buddy said yesterday in the office here, don't just have a job. Don't be just over broke. Have the mindset of ownership, and not just of owning your role in whatever position you're in, but owning where you are and what you want to accomplish. So just to wrap up, you should watch this video over and over. You should go back through and watch one of the 120 videos I put on this YouTube channel. There's a lot of content on here that can help you. A lot. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to have some pretty incredible people come on to the YouTube channel. I met one of my neighbors in my office complex there that was a former Detroit Tigers baseball player, who after baseball, and he signed a multi-million-dollar contract. From what I understand, I don't know all the details, so I'm going to ask him some of that stuff. I don't know if he'll share. But him and his family decided to invest in some Jimmy John's and become franchise owners. Speed it up to today, they own 60 or 70 different locations across the Metro Detroit market. And I ran into him last week, and I was like, hey, man, I know, I'm getting to know him a little bit. And one of his buddies was just becoming president of the Detroit Athletic Club. So he was running out to meet up and be a part of the festivities, I guess. And I was like, oh, the Detroit Athletic Club. Actually, I know some people there too, because they're on the board of the Best and Brightest companies, because I just got invited to be up on the board of the Best and Brightest companies, which is kind of neat. And so we talked back and forth about it. But he's going to be one of our guest speakers on our channel. I asked him if he likes making a difference in the next generation of leaders and business people. And he said he would love to come on the channel and share his experience. I also just got invited to be on a podcast with one of my buddies that I did business with many years ago. His name is James Boyd. He played in the NFL for 4 or 5 years. He's a Penn State alumni. It's funny. He goes, Ken, so I'm going to have you on the podcast, and then I'm going to have the president of the NFL Players Union right after you. I'm like, oh, okay. Just, two people that are in similar roles, I guess. But he's an incredible guy, and I'm going to have him on over the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending on schedules. But we're looking to get more great people on the channel and do what we can to help you guys and fulfill our mission, which is change the world one leader at a time. So happy Friday. Thanks for joining the channel. If it's new to you, have an amazing day. Have an amazing weekend. And just remember, this is not a dress rehearsal. You got one life to live, and I encourage you to live it to the max. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining today. See you guys.